Is it time for another one of the Real Bearded Businessmen's interviews? Absolutely. Hey guys, welcome back. I am the Real Bearded Businessman and I appreciate you checking out the channel. It means the world to me, so thank you. And yeah, this is the next video in the Real Bearded Businessman's small creator interview series, right? So let's get into the introduction today, right? So the only thing I'm going to tell you is that so far I'm glad that for this guest this week, that I kind of got a little freshened up here. You know, I got a haircut, I got my beard trimmed. I mean, the shirt, not quite up to snuff, but, you know, I think we can all learn a lot from this next person's channel. And, you know, hey, without further ado, let's get into the video. All right, well, I have Chris here from Modern Regimen. And just wanted to thank you for being here, Chris. It's awesome. I'm glad we could get this worked out and get everything set up here.
Appreciate you having me, Brian.
Hey, anytime, anytime. You know, we've had a great conversation back and forth. Both I think Twitter, YouTube. I think we've been hitting all the social medias here.
We've been active.
Well, I'm sorry.
We've been active on the social platforms.
Yes, yes. So, well, it's great that you're here today, and yeah, I guess let's get started. You know, so first question I had for you, Chris, is why don't you introduce yourself? Who are you, and what's your channel all about?
Sure. My name is Chris Flores. I'm a graphic designer from Los Angeles, California, born and raised. And basically, the purpose of my channel. Well, first of all, my channel is Modern Regimen, and primarily what the niche that I'm going for is, on a general basis, it's a men's lifestyle channel, but to dig in a little deeper, it's specifically the fundamentals of men's style in terms of the lifestyle.
Sure.
And the way I define that to even go further is, you know, I think that a lot of guys out there, you know, are intimidated by the high end dressing well specifically. You know, they think that dressing well correlates to higher priced items in apparel. And what my channel is, one of the purposes of my channel is to present, you know, stylistically some classy and, you know, functional wardrobe for men without having to break the bank. Because, you know, speaking for myself, I'm one of the most frugal guys on the planet. You know, I know what it is like to know the worth of a dollar based on the blood, sweat, and tears you put into the work that you put out there. So, you know, for me, you know, I try to buy quality items that, you know, that don't break the bank at the same time. So that's one of the main topics of the channel, as well as I share things called everyday carry, which are portable items of utility that people carry, things like multi tools for the pocket knives, wallets, things like that, gentlemen goods, so to speak. And pretty much that's the core value of the channel. And so it's been up and running for about a month and a half now. I did check the analytics, and yeah, February 27th was when I started the channel.
Awesome. Okay. Great. So I actually that was a great segue for my next question. One of the big topics that I always talk about is, or at least from my standpoint, kind of trying to understand somebody and where their thought process is kind of curious what your why is, you know, like what drove you to start the channel?
Well, there's a myriad of reasons that all are rooted into one reason, actually. And what I mean by this is that, for one, that I think everyone on the planet at this moment needs to realize that today, in this day and age that we live in, it's the easiest time to start a project with almost no overhead and no cost in regards to all the free resources and knowledge that are
Yeah.
place to out there, especially you and I know that YouTube is a
Sure.
valuable forum and, you know, archive of information as
Mhm.
on top of entertainment as well. And
Absolutely. And like you said, it's free.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And to give it more value on top of the fact that it's free, it's also something that has created a platform to monetize a passion
Sure.
or a project of any for any endeavor or any niche. And that's the
Okay.
beauty of it. I think that once people understand the power of YouTube and the platform it upholds as a monetization or income generating platform for anyone, I think that people will start to be comfortable with the idea of maybe putting themselves out there in front of the camera to
Okay.
maybe tell about what their passions are as well as monetize it. But and then another reason for why I started the channel was, first of all, like I said, I'm a graphic designer, and
Okay.
so I wanted to utilize those skill sets
Great.
into
Okay.
different mediums, because with graphic design, um, once you know the concepts of uh, you know um, basically composition and how fonts and how cinematography and all the alignment, all the design aspects of what makes film, like
Hmm.
that's something I've never actually dabbled in. And I wanted to utilize my skill sets as a graphic designer and transcend that into, I guess, video format.
Sure.
And basically I wanted to see if my branding skill set, because one of my backgrounds is graphic design and marketing and visual merchandising from my
Okay.
past job experiences. And so what I wanted to do was use those skill sets and actually parlay them into one basic channel. And if I was able to grow that channel into a big audience, that in itself would be um, a testament to what I could add to my portfolio if I was to get a client for graphic design services that I offer. So
Okay.
if I say, hey, I grew my own channel to 100,000 subscribers, doesn't that mean that my graphic design works some in one way, shape, or form? And so
Sure.
that was another angle of why I wanted to utilize and grow a YouTube channel. However, I'm in the fetal stages and it's a
Yeah.
learning process, as you know,
Oh,
every day.
absolutely.
And at the same time, I'm having a great time learning
Good.
everything about the editing process. And I think that's the important part, because if you burn out too early, of course, then you know what the road ahead is going to be like.
Sure.
So it's all about tenacity and diligence, I think, with this whole YouTube thing.
Absolutely. Okay. All right. And honestly, I think it's great that you brought up the portfolio aspect, like being able to
Hmm.
build your portfolio. One of the
Hmm.
things that I guess is kind of like an underlying thing that I've always picked up on, but a lot of the like the larger YouTubers they don't touch on it, I guess, and maybe they do. It just doesn't pick up. Or to me, is you totally are building a portfolio as you go,
Hmm.
and some of your videos speak for themselves as far as, like you said, the camera work, the editing, the planning, however that works. And for things like graphic design, I think you're absolutely right that you are building a portfolio. I think even like a lot of these niches, a lot of folks are using it and they're able to pivot with it, pivot that portfolio, and so that's I think that's a very interesting piece to it. I'm glad you brought that up. I guess so. So I think you started saying before you've been at this since February. So my question is how long have you been at this? And has your channel taken any turns in content or niche maybe do you even envision it taking any turns?
Yeah. Initially, I was going to embed the concept of like the whole mindset and motivational aspect of the principles that allowed me to become a better person throughout the years. I
Okay.
wanted to implement some of that knowledge base into the channel. However, there was a conflict of interest in terms of my first video was product oriented. I was
Sure.
reviewing a watch, you know what I mean? And so for that to be in ties with a mindset oriented, I guess, playlist within the channel, I
Sure.
didn't know whether that was a smart move. However, a lot of YouTubers out there will say, in the beginning, experiment and just put things out there and
Yeah.
let YouTube's algorithm catch and bite whatever it needs to bite in terms of your videos.
Hmm.
Whatever hits a combustion point, then
Sure.
maybe that'll be your niche. So but at the same time, there's a part of me that is a perfectionist that likes to play it safe sometimes. But
Okay. All
what I
right.
found was,
I know that
uh,
feeling too.
yeah, absolutely. And so what I found was an alternative to that, and for me to appease the motivational mindset aspect, I was going to utilize podcasting for that instead,
Okay.
in and have that cross promote each other in terms of the
That's great. That's a
channels,
great idea.
so if I, YouTube would be for the visual aspect of men's style and everyday
Sure.
carry, and then podcast is more of an audible sort of platform. And so the context there was more appropriate for something that's information based.
Hmm.
So that's the way I saw it. So that's the only pivot that I bit in the butt early on.
Sure.
And I'm still early on because I'm only 6 videos in, but
Okay.
um, at the moment, it's you see so many channels out there that at least for me that I've followed throughout the years, and they've pivoted one way or another. And I
Yes.
think that's inevitable to keep things fresh, but at the same time you have to keep your audience in mind as well. So I think, so most YouTubers say that the audience is what dictates what your channel
Right.
presents. So there is a middle balance, I think, that
Okay.
needs to be met there.
Sure. So what is something, I guess, that surprised you, whether it's about the platform or the experience or whatnot? So what's something that surprised you since starting your channel?
That's a good question. What's crazy about YouTube is that I found that people are a lot more open and willing to engage through the comments. I have a hard time doing that through, or uh, getting that through Instagram. For
Okay.
I think everyone's just trying to one up each other with the audience count on Instagram or the
Sure.
follower count, and
Yeah.
so you see a lot of bots being used there.
Tons. Yeah.
But
Tons.
what was refreshing was just knowing that you can actually have a in-depth conversation with your viewers through the comment section on YouTube, and that was really refreshing, and actually
Absolutely.
it was enlightening, and it gave me positive vibes about the platform.
Okay.
Yes, now of course, I don't look forward to the people who are just being uh, terrible on there. Obviously, the trolls and
Sure.
whatnot. But at the same time, it's I think the value comes in with those who are reaching out to you in regards to whether they need your help or insight on something, or whether they have
Okay.
insight to share with you. And that was one of the most important and eye-opening sort of attributes of YouTube, in my opinion.
So what? So if you had to do one thing differently, if you started over today, and I realize you said you've only you're only about 6 videos in, but if you had to do something different, first off, is there anything you do different, and what would it be?
You know what we were just talking about, I probably would have attempted to or put more effort into documenting the process of creating content,
Okay.
like almost like a Gary V, like he says, document everything, Gary
Yes.
Vaynerchuk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously,
I love the fact that he does that because it's just so raw and without trying, it's behind the scenes.
absolutely. And, but at the same time, he has I guess, the capital and the finances to be able to hire a crew like that. But at the same
Sure.
time, um, once the time comes, maybe I'll rig up my, my design studio and with different cameras and, uh, you know, put a lot more focus and energy into the whole YouTube thing. Because
Sure.
as you and I know, this, as for me, this isn't full time by any stretch of the imagination right now. I'm I have to deal with graphic design clients.
Mhm.
Um, I'm also dealing with e-commerce. I have an e-commerce business where I sell apparel as well.
Okay.
And so yeah, and for me to even I don't, to even imagine trying to fit in a YouTube within my 7 days a week was
Sure.
absurd. But at the same time, now I wish I would have started sooner. One of those kind of things, you know.
I absolutely agree with you. It was probably about by the second week of doing it. It first realization was, oh my God, this is so much more work than I thought it was going to be. And about
Yes.
20 minutes later, I went, why did I wait so long? Like I could have done this 2 years ago. And
Mm-hmm.
here I'd already be 2 years ahead, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But no, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. So and I definitely know the struggle of doing this part time. Time is absolutely of the essence. And I know I joke around with people, but there's days where I'm like, I would almost take money out of my pocket, just get me another hour in this day. And I guess I never really thought I would be that way, but I think some days I think if you don't have that mentality, you may not be hungry enough. And so at least from that perspective, if I wasn't enjoying this and I didn't see the possibilities and wasn't as positive about it, I don't think I would have that mentality because I'd be sitting on the couch watching TV and what am
Mm-hmm.
I gonna do? Watch another rerun of something.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, so that's great, man. Yeah. So yeah, the full-time job is definitely the concern right now. Get
Mm-hmm.
through that and then and then jump, set everything up and jump in front of the camera, hit the record button, and see what happens.
Absolutely. You never know what can be attained. I mean, like you said, this I would have never imagined, like, yeah, within a month of doing YouTube, I'd be doing a video
Mhm.
conference with yourself, and it's been nothing but a good thing because
Sure.
I think that as new YouTubers, knowing that there's someone out there on the same pace as yourself, it makes things a lot easier, and you don't
Mhm.
feel like you're on a one man island when you know that there are actually people out there experiencing the processes
Mhm.
that you're experiencing, and so that's one of the valuable things that I've learned from the whole process. And
Sure.
one another thing is that, like I said, you know, another awakening for me was that knowing that there are 10-year-olds who are monetizing and kicking butt on YouTube,
Oh, I know.
making hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Right.
That we as adults don't basically we need to catch up with that in terms of
Sure.
especially for myself. Back in the day I was like very anti social media, but at the same time, if
Yeah,
you're
me
if
too.
you have if you have if you have a product or a service, um you also have to become a publication company. I know it
Mhm.
sucks to to have to be that, but
You're
there
absolutely right, though.
yeah, because the next guy is going to be that, your competitors out there, and you know, so yeah, that was just one of the the strong points that I learned throughout my journey with the YouTube was knowing that, if especially for me right now, I'm
Mhm.
single, and so I'm using every second of the day to
Sure.
digest knowledge. I think that the an important thing is to know the ratio between education and entertainment. If your
Yes.
entertainment is over the ratio, or your education
Mhm.
game, then something needs to change.
Yeah.
And that was just speaking for myself. A lot, complacency is a silent assassin,
Okay.
and for me, I think I just wanted to use the time that we have now with all the, like I said, free resources out there to, you know, um, try to make a living on my own terms.
Sure. Sure. Absolutely. Real quick, Chris, if you don't mind, can you let everybody else just kind of remind them what your channel's all about?
Yeah. Once again, I'm Chris Flores, and my channel is called Modern Regimen, where I speak about my own perspective on the fundamentals of men's style, and men's lifestyle, as well as a movement called Everyday Carry, which is, portable utilitarian items for any individual out there. We all
Mhm.
have different things that we carry on a daily basis. And within the channel, I'll share what I carry on a daily basis. And as well, on top of that, I'll also be occasionally sharing some of the in-house processes of how I'm creating the channel, the content, and
Okay.
almost a day in the life of a graphic designer every now and again. So that's
Awesome.
pretty much it.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, sounds good, Chris. I want to thank you. Really appreciate your time, and it's been great.
Hey, it's been an honor to be on the Real Bearded Businessman uh, video. And, I honestly hope I gave you and your viewers out there a little bit of value and some insights from just one person's perspective. I know we all have different journeys that we're going through, and to call ourselves a guru in anything, I think that's complete nonsense, because in the end, we're all learning.
Mhm.
Nobody knows everything. And that's one thing I've, gotten and taken away from your channel, is that, there's value in being real
Mhm.
and honest with yourselves when it comes to, the stresses of being an entrepreneur, and or someone who's starting to be an entrepreneur. And I think, as opposed to complaining, I think that we should just use the time to, check out channels like the Real Bearded Businessman, or,
Thank you.
Think Media, things like that.
Yeah.
Uh, th- Basically, college is in YouTube. You can get a degree through virtually through YouTube
Yeah.
if you just apply yourself.